Greetings, everybody. If you're watching this, you are watching this from the future. You'll be watching this on October 30th. My name is Luna, and this is our fantastic Miss Cat. You want to introduce our
Hello.
guest?
Absolutely. Our guest is Sean Donahue. Welcome, Sean. He is a producer, actor, director, writer, special effects, and casting director for many awesome horror exploitation films. So his ones for this year is Swamp Woman, Doomsday Stories, and Death Blow. Those are his most recent films that have come out. And ones that have gotten the highest ratings is Franklin: A Symphony of Pain from 2015 and Joe Vampire. And we also have High 8 Horror Independent 8 and The Guy Who Knows Everything. The guy knows everything. Just the guy. Welcome, Sean. Welcome.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, Sean, for being here.
For sure. I love doing these things and happy to be here. How long have you been doing this podcast?
We started
a month and a half, maybe.
It's been like 2 months.
So pretty
It's
new.
been it's been 2 months solid. We got the idea while we were at Texas Frightmare, and while we were there, we were just so inspired by all of the indie horror filmmakers that were there, and we kind of just in the hotel room just pitched ideas to each other. We came up with the name, and we just kind of went with it. So we've been doing it ever since.
I've always wanted to go to that convention. I do a lot of conventions around the country, and that one I've never been able to get a table. They sell out really fast, and one time I was going to go just to go, but that didn't even work out. But that's one I definitely want to check out for sure.
Yeah. If you want to get with us, crash the bandwagon and go with us, come on in. We always go and have a lot of fun. It was personally my favorite convention because of how well organized it was. Even when you picked up your weekend badges and all of that, smooth. I've never had a convention that I've been to that has done things so seamlessly, and that was kind of amazing because the line was huge, but it didn't feel that bad. Right, Cat? Because everything was so smooth, even though the lines were huge, it just felt good.
It was well organized, and that they had a lot bigger space than I heard than they had on previous ones.
Right. I believe the last one was at a convention center, right? Not at a hotel.
Correct. It was at the Irvine Convention Center.
I'm not, and not, I'm sure it was awesome. I'm not a big fan of conventions at convention centers, personally. I like them better in hotels. It just seems more intimate, and I don't know, it just seems like the experience is different, from my perspective. But, I'm sure it was awesome nevertheless, but
yeah.
I just prefer hotel conventions.
Yeah, I definitely agree that they're more homier, and the there's definitely more room to move around. The convention ones can get really crowded, but if you go on like a Friday or a Sunday, it's not as bad. Saturday is like insane. Forget it.
Right.
Very, very true, Miss Cat. Yeah, so Sean, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now with Gatorblade Films.
All right. Well, since we're just talking about conventions, I'll mention that I used to run a convention called Tampa Bay Screams. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yes, absolutely.
So this year I sold it to a filmmaker friend of mine because I just didn't want to do it anymore. And rather than let it just, disappear into obscurity, I had a friend that wanted to keep it going. So we worked something out, and he's going to be running it now. So the good news is it gets to live on, and I'm still going to be a part of it because I use that convention to help promote and sell my movies along with a lot of my filmmaker friends and actor friends. So I'm glad it's going to get to live on, because most of us live here in Tampa and work together. So it was kind of, our convention.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's wonderful to see because there's only like 3 horror convention circuits that happen here in Florida, and we need definitely there's room for more, right?
Right. I think there's actually more than that. I mean, you got Spooky Empire, Spookala, Tampa Bay Screams, Phantasm. There was one in Cocoa Beach. I can't remember what it was called. I'm not sure if it's still running. There was one in South Florida called Fatality Fest, I believe. And I believe there's one in St. Pete now that's just getting started. So there's a lot going on. Yeah, I think it either just happened or it's about to happen, and I can't remember what it's called.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a Horrorville one in Florida as well.
That's the one that's in Cocoa Beach, Horrorville.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, Sean. I wanted to ask when is the next Tampa Bay Screens?
So I do not know because I don't run it anymore. I've been talking with the new owner and asked him about it. I don't have an exact date because I don't even think that they do, but I would estimate between April and August of next year, somewhere in between there, because that's when we used to do it when I was running it.
Oh, okay. That'll be awesome. What movies are you currently working on? Are you doing any fun projects?
The latest one is Swamp Woman, which just came out. It's the slipcover, and there's it's the back. There's the front. So that just came out. I've had them for a little while, but it got a wide release on September 29th. So you can buy it on Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, pretty much anywhere that sells movies.com. And I've just been working on a couple of scripts, but I don't have anything specifically I'm making right now. So just trying to close the year out. I'm doing Spookala this week with 2 actresses I frequently work with, Sushi and Lunathist. Both of them are in Swamp Woman. So we're going to do that con and go out with a bang, and then next year we'll see what that brings.
That's awesome. We'll see you there.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
awesome.
we'll have a table and all our movies and everything.
By the time
this is one that I picked up.
Yes.
Did you ever see the first
one? I'll get to meet Sushi.
that is the first one that she's in.
Nice.
So, yeah, that. So those movies. So the Discord series, you got. Oh, here, I'm bad at this. You got part 1, and then part 2, which you just held up, and then there's actually part 3, which is called Taste Me. So those are probably my raunchiest movies, I guess, but they're probably some of the most popular. And we're actually working on a box set that's set to come out next year with all 3 movies and a prequel that we made, as well as new interviews, a documentary, and some other stuff that's never been released. So, and that's set to come out sometime next year.
That's awesome.
That's how I like my movies, raunchy. And I love that there's girls of all sizes, right? Of beautiful ladies of all shapes and sizes.
I get complimented a lot on that, hey, you don't just hire, one kind of, looking female or whatever. So not to let anyone down, it's not that I specifically choose ladies of different sizes and colors or whatever. It's literally who's willing to do the job. So, if I cast a role and the person is comfortable with what they're doing and they're available, the dates that I need to shoot, that's really about it, because doing this kind of stuff, it's hard to find people that will do it. So, I can't really pick and choose, we don't want her. I wanted someone with blonde hair or whatever. It's, hey man, she's available, so let's get her. So
that's kind of awesome though. It gives you more of a diversity rather than the Hollywood look. You get more of a real
Right.
a real
I mean, I think it's more realistic, like our movies, and I see that in a lot of horror movies. You don't necessarily have, like the typical, like I said, like Hollywood, like it's like the cast of 90210 is in the movie, because I don't think that's really reality. I mean, I prefer horror movies with just kind of everyday looking people that you might, see around, because I think it's just more realistic.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And two, I don't really like horror movies with known actors, because let's say Tom Cruise is the killer in the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, that's unlikely, but it takes something away when, like, the actor. I think I like using kind of unknown people, because again, I think it makes it more realistic.
Yeah, I can see that. There's an element of mystery and surprise.
Yeah. With that being said, I don't think that my movies are very realistic, though, as far as the concepts of them.
I mean, unless you have an actor like Gary Oldman, like he could be you
Well,
and you
yeah.
couldn't know
I mean,
it.
if
You
they're
know?
that good, I mean, if they're that good of an actor, like someone like Gary Oldman's level, then okay, I'm gonna give them a part because they're just awesome. But where I'm at with the actors I work with, I prefer using them in a lot of the roles that I cast.
Nice. That's pretty fantastic. Out of all the movies you've done, because you've done quite a bit, which has been your favorite to direct?
Favorite to direct. I mean, I'll say that the most fun I had making a movie was probably the one previous to Swamp Woman. It was Satan Lives: The Rise of the Illuminati Hotties, which is here, I'll hold it up right here. That's the slipcover, and then that's what it looks like. So
Oh,
that one was just as crazy as the title is. Making it was just very lighthearted, and we worked with a cast that I was comfortable with, and it really went smooth. So when things are going smooth, you can have a lot more fun on a set, in my opinion. If you're having audio issues and effects issues, and the location you got didn't work out, or an actor was giving me trouble or is late or something, that kind of sets the mood on a set. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize when you make a movie, because the viewer doesn't get to know about all that stuff. But for me, when things are very calm and it's just fun and lighthearted, it makes the movie, it makes it easier to make, and B, we kind of get a different result. So I mean, that movie came out really funny, which is not necessarily what I was going for, but at the end of the day, I thought it was entertaining. So it's just real comical. So that's probably the most fun I had, one of my movies.
Nice. Of all the roles you've played, right? Producer, actor, director. Which role did you enjoy the most? Do you enjoy doing the most, and which role do
So
you find the most challenging?
I usually don't get in front of the camera often. I can't even honestly think of the roles I play, but usually I'll do a cameo in one of my movies, or if it's for a friend, I'll do something small. I don't typically like acting, but of all the roles that I have played, I probably really like the last one that I did the most, in Swamp Woman, playing Dr. Rankin. Because I got to talk in a robotic voice, and it was just, I don't know, it was just kind of fun, something different, something I hadn't done before. So yeah, probably Dr. Rankin in the Swamp Woman. I was going to pick a favorite acting role.
yeah, it sounds very fun. How did you come up with that robotic voice?
I don't like to give this one away, but have you
Oh,
two gotten to see Swamp Woman yet, or no?
not yet.
No.
I'm going
Okay.
to this weekend though.
So all
No,
right.
I haven't
So
either.
there's an actor that I've worked with in the past. I'm just not going to give his name because I don't want to embarrass him. But he talks just like this when he's trying to explain something to you. So I wanted him for the role, and he wasn't available. So then I was just like, well, I'll just play it like he would. And
Oh,
that's how
it's
that's
funny.
when you watch the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Nice. And looking through your IMDb, I did see that you were on Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
No, that's actually a mistake.
Mistake.
I didn't put that there. I didn't put that there. I don't know who did, but I just left it. And every once in a while, someone will bring it up. They're like, "That's interesting," and unfortunately, I informed them. No, that never happened. I was never on Conan O'Brien.
Nice. I wouldn't take it out either. I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I just left it. I'm like, it's there. Looks kind of cool, so I'll just leave it.
What if it was your future self writing it on IMDb from the
Maybe,
future?
yeah. Well, I mean, did you two watch Conan when he was on back in the day?
I love Conan.
Okay.
Since I was.
You remember
No.
one of his skits was it was called like in the year 2000. Do you remember that? Yeah. So that would work for what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sean, what was the hardest? Because I know directing has its challenges. What has been the most challenging thing that you've had to overcome directing?
I mean, I'll say this, the hardest movie that I've made directing was probably Die Die Delta Pi, because it was just such a big cast and so many locations. I mean, everyone did a great job, but it was just a lot. So from that movie, everything that I've done after it, I learned from that experience, and I slimmed down the actors, slimmed down the locations, and I'm at the point now, I think I'm on movie 15th that I've directed and produced another 15. So I've kind of got a formula on how I do things that works. I schedule certain things to happen on certain days with certain people in certain locations, and I work with a lot of repeat actors, and it just makes it easier. So that's making the movie. But then the next challenge is, once it's made, is selling it and getting it out there and getting people to know about it. That's a whole nother challenge. And I think a lot of, especially first time filmmakers, they don't even think about that. They just think about, we're going to make this movie. That's only half the battle. The other half is getting people to see it. So for me, I started my own distribution company as well when I started doing this, because I would always hear horror stories about how filmmakers would get screwed over by distributors. And I'm like, well, I'm going to just bypass that, and I'll do that too. And I've always distributed my own movies, and I've picked up a few others from filmmakers over the years. So that's helped out a lot, getting my name out there and getting my movies out there. And now with streaming, I have a few movies streaming, but streaming is not very friendly with a lot of the movies that I've put out, because they're gratuitous. So I get out what I can, but I haven't made a movie that, okay, I'm like, hey, I'm going to make this so it gets on streaming, because I've heard a lot of filmmakers say that. I think you should make what you want to make. If it happens to be conforming to their specifications, great. But I'm never set out to make a movie for like a robot. That's just not how I want to do it. I make the movie, and what happens is what happens. So I mean, that's another challenge is now with streaming, trying to get on that. The only place where, I mean, a lot of my more gratuitous movies are streaming is Trauma Now. That's the only place that's proven to show my movies. So you can watch all the Death Squad Service movies there. Satan Lives, Swamp Woman's going to be up there soon, because I don't think a lot of those will ever be on any other platform, unfortunately.
What was the name of that platform again?
It's called Trauma Now. Are you familiar with Trauma movies, Toxic Avenger, stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm very familiar. I'm going to get Luna familiar. We're going to get you there.
Okay. All right. Wow. Now you gotta learn Trauma. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the kind of stuff I do is in that Trauma. When you see one of their movies, you'll see what I'm talking about. If there was no Trauma, I probably wouldn't exist.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I've met Lloyd. He's been to my convention. We talk actually pretty frequently. And really nice guy. And like I said, that's where a lot of my more gratuitous movies are at, because none of the other streaming platforms will take them. So.
Mm-hmm. And what was your favorite favorite horror directors as you were growing up that kind of inspired you?
I mean, I really have a lot. I can't really pinpoint just one person, but I was thinking about that today, actually. A director that really has influenced me is Paul Verhoeven. I wouldn't necessarily call him a horror director, but he made movies like Total Recall, RoboCop, Basic Instinct, um, and I've even borrowed some of his dialogue and put it in my movies. And I don't know what it is about his movies, but I just find them just really over the top, and I think that's what I try to go for. Oh, sorry, phone's ringing. Let me turn it off. Sorry.
Yeah, his movies are definitely, he doesn't hold anything back. That's
Right.
really, I think, what
Right.
resonates with us. That first scene when you're a kid and the dude is using someone else to block the bullets, and the guy's just blah, 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 blah. You're like,
Right, yeah,
ooh, dang.
things like that. And I think, I mean, part of the issue that I have now in 2023 is things like that aren't as accepted.
Yeah.
I think people are a little too politically correct, as far as what should be in a movie and what shouldn't. I mean, I watch R-rated movies now, and it's like, not enough for me. I mean, I grew up with like the movies we were talking about, so I try to replicate that, because that's the kind of movies that I like watching. I think in a movie, I don't think you should have any rules. It's fiction, so I don't like being held back. And so in my movies, we do what we can. I mean, though they're low budget, so we work with what we can, but we don't hold back anything as far as the content.
Yeah, for sure. And I was analyzing, believe it or not, even Garfield in today's day and age, that would be totally not accepted because
Probably not.
Garfield,
Some of the jokes that he would make. I mean, yeah. I mean, every once in
yeah,
a while I'll revisit older stuff, and I always say, I'm like, oh man, that couldn't come out now. You ever watch Married with
yeah.
Children? Remember that show?
Ooh, yeah, that would not
Yeah,
do well
I don't
now.
think that would work now. So yeah. I mean, going back to one of the challenges I've had as a director is the kind of movies that I like, that I grew up watching, are kind of what I make, and now the audience has really dwindled for that. There's it.
Mhm.
I mean, if the audience I do have are mainly people my age or a little bit older. Like the younger generation, they don't understand my stuff. They don't, they think it's porn, or just anything offensive is just considered porn now. So I don't know, but I make the movies that I want to make, because it's what I would want to see. So
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. You bring up a good point there about, you make what speaks to you. I mean, if you hate dandelions, why make a movie about dandelions? You
right,
know what I'm saying? Like you gotta do what speaks to you, because at the end of the day, it's a hobby and it's something that you love and passionate about, not something you hate to do. This is not
right,
a job. This is a career, right?
right. Well, like I said, going back to a lot of first time directors, because I'm in a lot of horror groups, and I know a lot of other filmmakers, and I'll see them make something that they're trying to, not even necessarily what they want to make. They want to make something that's got a built-in audience, and this is what the people want, so we're gonna tailor it around that. And I just don't believe in that. I think especially if you have the opportunity to make a movie yourself, then you should make what you want to make. Making movies in Hollywood is working in a corporate environment. They're going to tell you what to do. I don't know how much of a voice directors have now, in that type of setting, but I don't think they have the options that they used to have in, say, Paul Verhoeven's heyday.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, Sean, the question of the hour that I want to
Okay.
know is, I want to pitch an idea to you and you tell me if it's a yay or nay.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of fantasy horror movies. Um, something in your future, a elf, kind of mythical,
It's like Leprechaun
Pan's
or something like that.
like a Pan's Labyrinth meets Friday the 13th, like mythical creatures getting slaughtered by a masked
No, I
guy.
mean, I don't have anything like that that I'm trying to do. And I don't even know
Oh.
if I have any friends that are doing anything like that. I mean, it sounds interesting. I mean, is this something that you want to try to make or something?
Oh, I'm pitching it to everyone because I strongly believe that we need more fantasy horror movies. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I don't know if I'm the right director for something like that. That sounds a
ah
little too. I don't know. I'm kind of straightforward. Um, but if I run into someone that is interested, I'll let you know.
of
But I mean,
course.
have you ever wanted to try to make something? Is that something you want to do, or you just want to give someone an idea and have them make it?
No, it's just a stick that we have here at Delight and Fright. I ask everyone and anyone how they feel about fantasy horror
I
movies,
mean,
and then
I would watch it. I mean, I'll watch anything. I just don't know if that's where I'm at as far as making stuff.
that makes a
And
lot
my
of
goal is
sense.
to get more male butox in films. I don't feel there's enough.
Right,
Like, yeah, boobies are great, but come on, I need some goods too, you know?
right.
We both have our sale pitches at the end of the day where we're like, give us more booty, male booty, and give us more fantasy
Well,
horror
I
creatures.
will say this: I get pitched an idea about once a week from someone that will contact me on Facebook or Instagram, and they'll say, "Hey, Sean, I've got an idea for you," and I hear them out. And I pretty much say what I say to you. I was like, well, why don't you make it? And it never goes past. They don't understand that, if I made every idea that someone pitched to me, I'd be broke. You know,
That's true.
I just
And
can't make
unhappy.
everyone's, ideas. And I'm not saying, hey, don't have them, don't reach out to people. But the way I do it is I typically come up with an idea and then I talk to some of the crew that I work with and tell them, hey, what do you think of this? And I kind of bounce it off them. And if they like it, then I move forward and I write a script and then we start setting dates and casting actors and then we do it.
Ah, that makes sense. How do you get your ideas to write stuff? Going into a little bit of writing, is it a story that's been lingering in your head? You write it down and then or how do you creatively
So,
do that?
so not at all. It's never a
Oh,
story first. I can't even explain it. I don't know how it happens. A title of a movie will just rush into my brain. Something will remind me of something and then I'll see something and then I'm like Swamp Woman, and then as soon as I have the title that I'm happy with, I write the script based on the title. And that's how all my
okay.
movies have been made. I don't just come up with a story and then come up with a title after. I wouldn't even know how to do that. That's just not how I do it.
I think Roger Corman was a lot like that as
Right.
well.
Well, he's actually my favorite director, so it makes
Nice.
sense. I think that's probably where I even got the idea from. It's like come up with the initial title and then write the story around that. Like man eating, zombies or whatever. It's just easier for me rather than coming up with a story. So
Yeah.
Nice. So if someone
That's
came to you
awesome.
with like a whole story, would you be interested in helping them get support or having Gator Films kind of put that out?
sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, I would. I'll take a look at anything, and I think I've even done that in the past and kind of help point them in the right direction. But like I said, now where we're at, I typically write my own scripts and produce and direct them. But early on, my first two movies, Joe Vampire and Die Del Tapai, I had a screenwriter write those. Now I came up with the titles and the concept, but I didn't write the scripts. So I haven't done that in a long time. Like make someone else's script, which um, it's probably a little, I think, harder. Actually, I went backwards. I start making my own scripts now, but I guess it's harder because sometimes the screenwriter's ideas wouldn't convey to me, you know, properly, and it probably shows up on screen. But yeah, I mean, if the situation is right, and I'd be interested in if someone has a script ready and I like it and it's something we can do, then sure, I'd be interested in making that.
Ooh, you're gonna write something, Kat? Murder?
Well, I
Well,
mean,
I've kind of have had something kind of running around in my head. I
if
eventually want to get it down. It's all in my head. Eventually get it into a book, but it would be one of those that would be difficult making into a movie because it would have explicit stuff in it.
right, well, that's
Sure.
another thing too. What kind of shies me away from making someone else's script is I know what my budgets typically are, and I know what I have available to me. So I write around those things. I write around, hey, I know I have my house. I know what's in my house. I can write a scene in there. When I work on someone else's script, it's more challenging because I don't know what was in their head. They wrote a scene. Hey, this car explodes. It's like, well, no. I mean, my budgets are low. I mean, I'll just put it out there. I mean, the lowest budget I ever had, I think, was $1,200, and the highest budget I ever had was $7,000. So there's only so much you can do with that amount of money on a movie.
What would you do if you had, let's say, in a perfect world, an unlimited budget, and you could make whatever you want? What do you think you'd make?
Well, I mean, so I've had this conversation with a couple people. So let's say that I had $1 million. Okay, I would still make a $3,000 movie if it was up to me. If it was studio was making it, then I'm going to make the movie with their money and cast, known actors, get a crew that's got experience, get effects people that's experienced, get the best locations. If I'm spending someone else's money, but if I had $1 million, I would still make a $3,000 movie because my movies only make about that much back. It's just not a good business decision to spend that much when I'm only gonna. None of my movies ever make more than that. So why would I spend the money? I think a lot of people that you see, doing this for the first time, they have in the back of their head, they won't admit it, but in the back of their head, they think that, I'm going to do this. This is a key into the money world. They just have that mentality that, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And, all the directors that I know, the lower budget directors, and I know a lot, after I was thinking about the other day, I know at least 50 other directors that are on my level doing what I do. I don't think maybe one of them does it full time. All the other ones are just like me, have another job. We're middle class people. So, doing this 100% is, as a job is near impossible. And that's the reality of it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
the realism is definitely.
Hey, I'm sorry if I crushed
great,
it.
and it's appreciated. No, but, people, especially a lot of millennials, they grow up thinking the world's at their fingertips, which it is, but you have to work really hard. It's not just going to be handed to you.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I definitely appreciate being realistic about things.
yeah, I mean, even getting to where I've gotten to where I can make a $3,000 movie and I know I'm going to make my budget back. I mean, that's taken me 12 years to get to that level. I didn't have that in the beginning. All my fans. Sorry. The fans that I have are people that I've met at conventions, bought my movie online, met at a concert or heard about my convention. I've built my own following. I didn't just make a movie and then everything came after. Like I've had to work for it. So again, like I said, making a movie is just half the battle. Getting it out there and getting people to watch it, and you can't make people like your movie either. It may be the best thing in your mind that the world has seen, but someone may watch a movie and not like it at all. And some filmmakers can't accept that. They're like, but we worked so hard and we had to go through all this, and da, da, da. It's like making a meal for someone. Like, let's say that you really like fried chicken and you make fried chicken and you give it to a friend and they're just like, well, I don't like this. It may be the best thing in the world to you, but they just don't like it, So there's that factor too. Just because you like your movie doesn't mean everyone else is.
That makes sense. How do you deal with because that's gotta be hard, especially in your former years as a filmmaker. I know you said you've been at this for what, 12 years? How did you deal with that? I'm sure you've had some rejection where just people didn't like
Oh
the
yeah.
fried
Well,
chicken type thing. So
at this
how did you deal with that
I
kind of
mean, I still get
emotion?
it now. I mean, Swamp Woman's gotten really good reviews, but there were a few people that didn't like it. Early on, my skin wasn't as thick, so I'm kind of like, oh man, this person didn't like it. Now I almost kind of enjoy some of the bad reviews. They're kind of funny. If someone really, especially if someone's really offended by my movies, it's usually hilarious. So that doesn't bother me at all. But at this point, I know my audience. The movies that I have had success with, I'm like, okay, well, that works. So I know what kind of movie that I'm going to make that's going to work. But, early on, like third or fourth movie, like for instance, my movie, The Heartbreak Killer. This was a movie that I wrote and directed. It's not even, I wouldn't even call it a horror movie. And it's my favorite movie that I've made. Um,
Mm.
but it sold terribly. It didn't really reach an audience. It didn't sell well, and I put a lot of my like real life into this movie. Like it really means a lot to me, and that's when I learned it in that movie. And I was upset for a while. I'm like, I really put my heart and soul in this one, and no one cared. And that's when I realized I was like, well, I know what kind of movie I can make that people are going to care about. And ever since then, that I concentrate on the sleazy, gory stuff because that's what's proven to work. And I don't ever see myself going back to making a movie like this again, unless someone else is paying for it and they want me to make it. You know.
Yeah, because I mean, what those big directors do is they make one for them, and then or two for them, and maybe they get to make one for themselves.
Right.
But you've gotten you've got it worked out so that you make them all for yourself, and that's awesome. There's no filter. You get to do what you want, and even if you got to keep that day job, I think that's awesome that you stick to your guns and you're like, screw
Yeah.
you
I mean,
like it or leave it. That's that simple.
at this point, like I said, I mean, I'm about 15 movies in, and I know what works and what works for me, and because about midway, I was just kind of upset with the situation. It's like I'm not where I want to be. When I started doing this, I wanted to do it as a job, to where I make movies and that's my job. So at this point, it's at least supplemental income. It's part of what I do, and I'm totally fine with that. I've come to accept what it is, and I got people that really like my movies, and just this year, one of my goals was to try to get in conventions and just get a sponsored or free table, and I think I've gotten 3 because early on, I'd pay for the table, pay for my hotel room, and pay for a flight out. So this year, I was able to get 3 tables at conventions. Phantasm was one of them, and I got a phone call about a week ago about a convention that wants to fly me out, give me a table, and pay for my room, pay for everything. And that's never happened to me before. So, that's
Ooh.
telling me that, hey, I'm starting to reach an audience and get somewhere. So um, it's things like that get me excited when something new happens, something I haven't, uncovered yet. Um, but I see a lot of people do this once or twice and then they're not rich and famous and then they just, call it a day. But that's just not how it works.
Yeah. Especially if it's a passion of yours, right? You gotta stick with it.
I mean, some people ask me, when did you know you wanted to do this or how did you get into it? I've literally been working on this my entire life. Like when I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do was work on movies. Like if you ask any of my family members or friends, that's all I have ever wanted to do. I'm really not interested in doing any other kind of job. The jobs that I have that I do for money, to pay the bills, I'm not interested in those at all. Like I just want to make movies, So I'm trying the best I can.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I completely understand you. What pays my bills, I don't
Yeah.
want to do. I just do it because it pays my bills. And
So
this is our little podcast that we're doing isn't paying, but we're having a shitload of fun. And
but you like you told me, you've been at this for a month and a half. you start meeting people and getting your name out there, and reaching the goals that you may have with it, then you'll get you'll get what you want out of it.
Exactly. And so far, I feel like I'm getting what I want out of it. Do you, Kat? We've been talking to a lot of good directors, and we've been
absolutely. I mean, I went to I did film school, and just to review films more like and I studied journalism, and I wanted to be a journalist, but then journalists had no integrity. We're just making up stuff. So I'm like, okay, so I could do this from home. So I love being able to use what I've learned, and also learn more about the film industry as well, and meeting new people. And it's just been awesome. And like you were saying, if it ever gets to a point where, someone wants to help us out and help us with our habit, just little things is like, press pass or something to a convention, like that's awesome.
that's
Any little bit we appreciate. It's not about the money, it's about helping independent filmmakers get their work out there, because what we're seeing is there's a lot of amazing stuff. It's like a resurgence. It kind of feels like at the old video nasty days. There's a lot of great stuff that's coming out that it's not getting, they have no soundboard, and that's what we want to do. And I'm glad that we're able to do that.
No, and thanks again for having me. I mean, that's why I do that. When you asked me to be on your podcast, I was excited about it, because I mean, I've done this several times now, because I always end up reaching new people every time I do this that have never heard of me or my movies. So this is one of the things that I do, to try to get my name out there.
Yeah, and if it's something that our audience doesn't watch like the day it comes out, it's gonna live on the internet forever. So maybe a year later, you'll run into somebody that'll watch it, and then they'll be like, "Oh," and then they buy like 10 movies.
One of my favorite things, and this actually just happened to me this week. Someone bought a copy of Swamp Woman at Grindhouse Video. If you're not familiar with Grindhouse Video, they were a store that started in Tampa. Now they're in Tennessee, and if you're looking for any kind of horror movie, they got it. If you want a physical copy, grindhousevideo.com. Anyway, they bought Swamp Woman from Grindhouse Video, and they really liked it. And they found my website and found my email and contacted me, and they're like, "Hey, I really like your movie Swamp Woman. I wanna check out more of your stuff. Is there anything I can buy?" And I gave them a list of my whole catalog, and they bought everything. They bought everything. And that's, like I said, that's happened to me a couple times here and there. I wish it would happen more, but it always gets me really excited. Not even so much the money that I'm getting, but that they like my movie enough that they want to watch all of them.
Yeah, so. I bet that's very rewarding as an artist, that people are enjoying your art.
Yeah, I mean, this person wouldn't have bought everything if they didn't really like it. So that means that I've reached that person. They understand me. They understand my movies, and they made a connection. Like, yeah, I want to. That's why I think at this point, all my movies I try to keep similar as far as like the style of them, because that's what they want. The over the top gore and nudity and ridiculous dialogue and things like that. It's what's proven to work.
Right. And if you're a true creator, you're not really in it for the money. You have to, right? There's you have, like, I have to write, like, you have to make movies apparently. So
yeah, and I mean, there's been points where, because this can be kind of stressful sometimes. I mean, I think on almost every movie I've made, I'll be like, this is the last one, I'm throwing in the towel because something will happen that stresses me out. And then some time will go by, and then I'll come up with a new idea, and I'm like, yeah, I should make that. And then things will just start falling into the place. I'm like, okay, I know I got this there and that. And then I'm like, well, it's easy. It's not going to be too much trouble. So I think we should do it. So it's kind of a sickness, to want to do this. And I've talked to other directors that have the same problem, where they make a movie and it was really hard and they didn't make that much money, but they still want to make something else because it's just, it's what we do. I mean, painters paint, plumbers plumb, filmmakers make movies. You know,
Right? We need a support group
pretty much.
with a terrible coffee and donuts, right?
Well, if you're ever on the set of one of my movies, that's about what you're getting, craft services. So,
If you ever we're in the Tampa Bay area, if you ever need extras to come in, fill in for free, reach out.
I mean, like I said, I'm writing a couple projects. I don't have anything until next year, but you know, am I friends with you guys on Facebook? That's where I really do a lot of my advertising and stuff.
No, but we can give you a follow or whatever lingo.
Please friend request me, because if I'm ever doing a casting, which is rare, I usually work with a lot of same people, but sometimes I need extras or small parts. So if I'm going to post anything about it, it's going to be on Facebook.
Okay. All right. We were always looking to, even if we don't get paid, as long as we get to be in a movie set and be a part of it, don't pay us. Just bring us in, and we'll act cool or whatever we need to do.
Have you ever been on an independent movie set at all, on a short or anything? Or
I have, only because I'm from LA, and the thing to do in LA apparently is get an acting degree. Everybody out there, number one thing, get your acting degree.
Right.
So I did a lot of plays over there. That's how I got my acting degree. Is you had to do a certain amount of hours with a professional actor, and then they had to coach you through the process, and then that gave you the degree after doing a certain amount of hours in the field. So I did that through the, shout out to, I believe it's called the Los Angeles Regional Occupational Center. That's the official name of the organization that does that. But it's basically like a high school after school program that teaches you acting with the real actors, and it's a very interesting program. So I did get my acting degree through that, and I've done stage, and oh my god, those stage lights, brutal. It's like you're like sweating, and
I think people that don't do this don't realize that either. Just having those lights in your face, like
yeah. And after a while, when you look away, you're like, why am I seeing a ring? A white the spotlight. You see it for a little bit. You got to kind of close your eyes and let your eyes adjust.
That's another reason. I mean, small reason though, why I like being behind the camera better, because once you're in front of the camera, I mean, you're a prop to the director at that point. It's like, move here, move there, say this, say that. You know, that's just how I look at it. I mean, there's obviously people that want to act and be actors, and God bless them, because without them, then I couldn't do what I do. But I'm just more comfortable behind the camera.
That makes a lot of sense.
Me too. I used to be terrified of like speaking in public, and I knew that was something that I had to do to reach my goals. So I faced it head on. I signed up for the community theater in a small town where there was really nothing to do. There was no movie theater. So I was like, all right, I'll just make my own movies. And so the first time I was on stage, I remembered my lines. I didn't trip. I didn't fall. I didn't throw up. I survived.
There you go.
And so I just kept going from there. And I even did some singing. I love to do karaoke. So whenever they'd have like the Christmas singing play, I'd always be a part of that. And they still call me from time to time, even though I'm like, I haven't lived there in like 7 years, but thanks.
Nice. I personally, I don't mind being an actor. It kind of reminds me of like days when you were a kid and you'd go outside and play pretend, like make believe. Oh, you know, we're in a castle.
That's exactly what it is. That's what I tell everyone that I work. Like, yeah, I wouldn't say usually, but sometimes I'll give a little speech before, especially I'm working with new people on what we're doing, and I tell them, I'm like, this is just like we're playing outside. You know, it's playing outside with a camera. You know, you're outside playing, you know, Army or Barbies or whatever, and you're playing, you're making make believe. You know, that's all it is. But you're doing it as an adult with camera, lights, and a story.
Exactly. And from my memories as a kid, I remember very vividly being obsessed with Jurassic Park. So we had our neighborhood kid pretend they were the T-Rex, and they would like chase us around and eat us, and then we had to hide and getting chased by a T-Rex, and you believed it. Like when you were a kid, you believed you were
Yeah, yeah,
being
no,
chased
you're
by a
right. Yeah,
T-Rex.
no, and I try to keep that mentality in all my movies, that like kid aspect to it, because it's just more fun that way, and I think it makes things
Mhm.
more comical. I don't think I'd ever want to make like a serious movie. It just seems not fun to me, you know. But hey, different strokes for different folks.
No, yeah, that makes sense. So that's been awesome. So what is before we kind of sign off and what is something that you want our viewers to know about Gatorblade Films or something that you're working towards, something they can look forward to?
I'll just say, I mean, if someone's never seen any of our movies, give them a shot. If you liked 80s horror with practical effects and excessive gore and nudity and exploitation type horror, then give our stuff a shot. It might be your thing. And if it's not, I'm sorry. I guess wasted an hour and a half of your life, but check it out. We're always doing something, doing a con, trying to get a new movie off the ground, and I'm really happy about what I've gotten to do and the people I've gotten to work with, and I hope to keep keep doing it. I didn't think I'd make it this far. When I made my first two movies, I thought that was it, because the goal was, then I'm going to make these movies. Some executive at Hollywood will see him, and I'll get a phone call. Hey, Sean, we really like Diet Delta Pi. We want you to direct the next Marvel movie, whatever. I've never gotten a phone call ever for anything. So, I just keep making what I want to make.
That sounds good. Are we gonna be able to find you at Spooky Empire or any of the local conventions coming
I
up
won't.
soon
I won't be at Spooky Empire, but I'll be at Spookala. That's the last con I'm doing this year.
this year? Okay, all right,
But
Miss
give
Cat.
Tampa Bay Screams a shot. Like I said, I
Okay,
don't know what it is next year, but it's a smaller convention. It's more intimate. It's mainly composed of indie filmmakers, which is what I tried to build. So you probably enjoy it. And it's, like I said, it's a little smaller, but I'm so sorry.
that's okay.
Um, but when I find out the dates, for sure, I will let you two know about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. Sounds like you're a very busy director. You got
Well,
jobs and people and
I'm not really. It's actually the
oh,
person who's calling me. I had a new water system put in, and he's supposed to call me back, so I'm dealing with that. So it's not an important director call on anything. Sometimes it is
oh.
though, but
So yeah. Miss Cat, do you have anything else for Sean before we take off to
No,
do
just
our
thank you so much. Thank you for your time, Sean. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you. And if you have anything coming up in the future, please let us know, because as we tell all our guests, previous guests get priority. Okay. So if you need something and it's crunch time, we'll find a way to fit you in. Okay.
I really appreciate it. And if you two need any help trying to find other directors or actors you might want to do an interview with, like I said, I know a lot of people in the area that would love to be on your show, that are probably currently doing something right now that would want to talk about it. So just let me know if you want me to
oh
throw
Awesome.
yeah,
uh,
yeah, you can
curious
send us
names away.
some yeah, you can send us some leads. Before we sign off, guys, huge shout out. Check out Sean's is it your actual film company? You own it
Yeah, no, Gatorblade
completely?
Films, absolutely, yeah.
Uh,
The Tampa Bay
okay.
Screams portion isn't accurate anymore, because, like I said, it's so
Okay.
all the. I mean, if they just want to look at it as far as archiving, but yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the buy links for the movies are there. I don't think I have any
Yeah.
streaming links up, but some of my movies you can find on Tubi and other streaming platforms. But you know, if you just
Awesome.
want some information about Gatorblade Films, you can definitely check it out there.
Yeah, you can even buy T-shirts.
There you go.
That's pretty awesome. You can buy some T-shirts, learn about Sean. Oh my God, that picture of the puppy. Eh?
Aw.
Here, hold on a second.
Aw.
Oh, puppy!
Uh,
Aw.
A guest appearance, guys.
the tripod. Hey, buddy.
Let's make him bigger because we.
I
Oh,
think he just got up. I think he's like, leave me alone. Anyway,
Aw. Thank you. That was a very special guest appearance. Awesome.
I try to. He's in a few of my movies. I try to do cameo, like give him little cameos. He's in a couple of my movies.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And there's nothing like, I mean, pets can't lie, right? I mean, they're just gonna do what dogs do. So they're the perfect little actors.
A couple times, you know, because we've shot in my house numerous amounts of times, and he'll just wander in front of the camera. Like, oh, damn it. So then I think one time he did it, and we're like, well, just leave him there. You know, just it was like the actors, they can have a dog, right? So just leave him.
Yeah.
So, you know, he kind of just he got a walk-on role.
Aww. Aww. I gotta love the puppers. But yeah, guys, please check out Gatorblade Films. They're doing some fantastic stuff out there. You can get the link. Just go to gatorbladefilms.com. Go to the buy movie section, kind of see the plethora of movies that are on there. You can even, there's a buy now button. Just, yeah, that's Zed's dead.
I was trying to do it like
Nice, like the Star Wars camera scroll.
No.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Well, thank you, Sean, for your time today. It's been amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you two keep doing this and meeting new people and you know, getting what you want out of it. And if you want to try to make something, you should do it. I mean, I started doing this. I didn't know anybody and I didn't know anything. So if I could do it, anyone can. You know, I just learned along the way. So.
Nice.
You hear that, viewers? If you guys want to make something, you have dreams, write it, make it, get out there, and good luck.
For sure.
And you don't even have to have something complete, right? We've been learning that as well. It can kind of evolve as it grows, you know, as you build your cast and things like that, and work within your budget, right? It's so important. We can always kind of tailor things and maneuver and pivot, and that's what I think makes the most vital filmmakers and creators. You got to be able to switch things up.
So real quick, it's funny you said that. So one movie you mentioned at the beginning, it's called Franklin, A Symphony of Pain. I didn't direct it, but I'm a producer on it, and I worked on it. It was just me and a group of friends hanging out, and we came up with an idea, and we'd shoot something, and then we'd get together the next weekend, and we'd shoot something else. We didn't even have a script. We kind of like made it as we go. And I think it wasn't until about halfway through the movie we came up with a script and how we're going to connect everything together. So, you know, I mean, that a movie's going to get made that way too. You know, just get a camera and start experimenting and shoot with your friends and go outside and experiment and see what you can figure out, you know, so it can be done.
Yay. Well, thank you, Sean. Bye, Miss Cat. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hope you guys enjoyed this
Thanks
wonderful
again so
episode.
much for having me, and I'll see you at Spookala.
See you there.
All right.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Have a good day.